Loz Boz up the back is filming today for Adelaide, so hi to Adelaide. We'll start off with a bit of a video about what can go wrong in terms of performance reviews. I'm glad we're filming
We'll
this
show a
one.
video of what can go wrong so you do.
First reason to talk about your performance. I'm not happy.
This is not the
This
one we're
very
supposed to be
much
showing.
is a passion.
Stay back, babe.
You're a visionary,
but-
but
Come on, Laura.
Oh,
Let's skip the video. Shall we start again? You're going to send it later. Okay, we're not going to go to the video. Okay, so-
Aw,
Oh, okay. You're mine. Just take a look through the work things.
So tell me, how do you think you did this year at Awesome Systems International?
Juan, what have you heard?
How do you think you did this year at Awesome Systems International?
Fantastic! It's been a great year for me. You know that if you followed my Pinterest board. Oh, that reminds me, I crocheted you this toaster cozy.
How do you think you did this year at Awesome Systems International?
Great.
How do you think you did this year at Awesome Systems International?
I would love to tell you exactly how I did this year. In fact, I've prepared a little presentation.
How do you think you did this year at Awesome Systems International? So you closed the Henderson deal 6 months ago.
Close. It was 8 months ago. And since then, I've also closed the McCormick deal, the Phillips deal, and the Hanson deal. You'd know all of this if we spoke more than once a year.
What are your best accomplishments of the past year?
Oh, I brought my self-evaluation form as indicated in your memo/email. I don't know if you know this, but I've used the same self-evaluation for 3 years. So I thought, why not just eliminate the sucker?
Why do you think you've done a great job this year?
Because
How do you think you've grown as a team member over the past year?
I think we can both agree that the only real way to answer that question is through song.
I have to say that there's room.
I'm sure we've seen enough. So who here has been through the process? So I've got an idea. Cool. There's a few little tweaks and changes this year, but we'll kind of touch on those. But essentially, those that haven't been through the process, it's a performance review is a two-part kind of process, I guess. The first is around what's happened, so what's happened over the last year, and the second piece is about looking forward. So it's about some quality feedback, results and values, and then looking forward in terms of setting goals and some development for the people that you're assessing, for yourself if you're the one being assessed. And you know, there's an old saying that feedback is a gift, but it is really important in my view that you make sure that you do provide people with quality feedback. You know, none of us can grow and learn and develop and change habits and the way we do things unless we actually get that feedback. And whether that's really positive feedback, because that's important, or whether it's something that's a development need, it's really important to be able Gates said, we all need feedback. We all need people who give us feedback. That's how we improve. So you feel like, you know, we need that to get going as well. So our process is pretty straightforward. It's a 5-step process. The first is that the employee would do a self-assessment. So they'll actually put together their thoughts and views around how they've performed over the last 12 months. This year we are rating on the financial year for the 17 financial year, so it's not the 5th quarter. It's everything through until the end of the FY17. What you would then do is pass it on to your manager, giving them a bit of respectful notice so that they've got a bit of time to be able to put together their notes as well, and then the manager will put together their assessment. There is a step there before having the discussion though called calibration. Did I get it right this time, Loz?
Mhm.
Calibration. So calibration, I used to say caliberation or something. Yeah. Calibration.
I like deliberation better.
Yeah, thanks. Is around as a senior manager, you're having a look over and a view over everybody's performance in your team before the discussion is delivered, and that's a fairness step, I guess, or a check that happens before delivered. So if you're a line manager, it's best to get your senior manager to have a look before you deliver that paper, so that we're comparing apples and apples. So if we've got 2 allocators that we're looking at, for instance, we want to make sure that they're both being compared fairly across, say, fashion and home, for instance. So across the business, there's a bit of this step called calibration. Just make sure there's a bit of fairness there. Once you've got that go-ahead from your senior manager, you can then have the discussion. So that's a 2-way conversation between the employee and the line manager. My recommendations in terms of being the line manager in that is let the employee go first and let them talk about what they've done for the last 12 months. It's not a one-sided conversation around what your views are. It's very much supposed to be a conversation with a download, I guess. And again, as an employee, you should be prepared for that conversation as well. So you've done the work up front, you should be prepared to sort of talk it through, talk about where your achievements have been, talk about the struggles. It's actually a good opportunity to talk about where you've actually had some difficult times. But make sure it is that 2-way conversation. And then the 5th step is hopefully there'll be some agreed, I guess, level of performance for that 12-month period, and then what will be happy to sign up. Go through that in a little bit more detail. So in terms of self-assessment, a couple of quick things to make sure you do. So make sure you review performance against your KPIs and values. Is everyone clear around the KPIs? Everyone should be clear around the values used to be over there. So it's a 2-step process. So half of the performance is around what your actual results were, the KPIs. The second piece is around how you got there, all the values that were displayed over that period of time. It's got an opportunity to reflect on feedback from others, including the half-year review. So if you've had we don't tend to do a formal review half-year here at Harris Scarf, but if you had conversations throughout the year, it's a good opportunity to reflect on those before you do your performance self-assessment. Make sure you know your strengths and development areas, so be open to that. Reflect on your plans and aspirations. So be really open and honest and talk about where you want to be and how you want to get there. Start identifying some development activities that will support your growth with the 70-20-10 model. You've heard of that model. We'll cover it off in a minute. Identify potential role models who you can realistically feel you can approach and learn from. Role model is a good opportunity to develop and learn from somebody who's not your leader. So choose someone in the business that might be able to help you and be a sounding board, I guess, for you in terms of your career. Make sure your development plan is achievable for the next 12 months. So it is supposed to be 12 months. Don't be sitting there, no offense to any senior leaders in the room, but don't sit there going, you want to be CEO next year. It's probably unlikely for most of us in this room. So, make it a realistic 12-month goal, not a 5-year plan sort of thing. And the PDP form should be completed and forwarded to your manager. And again, don't do it now before you sit, you're supposed to sit down with them respectfully and give them, probably a week or so at least to kind of review that and have a decent conversation with you around that. Shout out questions as we go. The second step is around the manager's assessment. So from a manager's point of view, make sure you look at any reviews that you've had throughout the year. Make sure you have read the employee self-assessment. Great way to see where they think they are at. So it's a really good barometer, I guess, and look assessment. So the actual assessment obviously gets KPIs and values again, similar to what we talked about in terms of self-assessment. Look at the strengths and development areas for that individual, and also use that 70-20-10 model to start thinking about what can I do to facilitate that person from that development.
If you can tell us what the 70-20-10 model is.
I will. And then make sure you take that PDP form, self-assessment, complete the ratings and supporting information examples. So it's really important to give examples as well. So you can't just say to someone your work's full of errors if you can't, describe what those errors look like, for instance. So make sure you have that there. This is an example of the form. So we have made a few little changes to the form compared to last year. So the first section is just the employee details, a bit of an overview. Second section is the year in review, and that's what I've said, it's a good idea just to start your key achievements and your challenges. And that can be outside of your KPIs. So that could be, something you've gone above and beyond where you were, that you may not have been measured on. Or, the really tough times that you've had around certain areas. That's what I need to put that out there. Section 3 is where the changes have happened a little bit. So there used to be about 4 or 5 columns in a year, where there used to be a half year review results and other bits and pieces. We've actually consolidated that. So it's actually just 2 columns, what your KPI target is and what your actual is, and then your ratings and comments on the left-hand side. This example here is around 4 KPIs. You may have more than 4 depending on where you sit and your role. So your manager will complete an overall rating, and this allows you to record your comments as well as the manager comments. And this section here is you as well. It used to be on 2 separate forms, but we sort of combine it together, so it's more of a balanced view, I guess, around what the employee and the manager have said together. Second part of the form is the behaviour. So as I said, there's about 2 sections. The first is KPIs. The second is around each of the behaviours or the values, and again, ratings and comments overall for the employee and manager. Another key area to complete though is this section 5, which is development of career. We actually do use this. So we sit down with the senior leadership team and more broadly across the core businesses even, and we use the data and information that comes through these processes to succession plan, to determine if people are open to projects and relocation projects, training others, all sorts of things like that as well. So, this is, you could probably put your 5-year plan in there as well if you do want to be CEO. But in terms of the next 12 months development, start thinking about some more realistic 70-20-10 type goals.
So is that where you think the employee should fill in what they'd like to see as far as development and career, or the manager putting in opportunities as well?
The employee should have a go, have a
Yeah.
crack, but the manager should talk it
Talk
through
through it
and
together.
that's one of those pieces you can fill out together
Sure.
once you've got that realistic thing together.
Yeah.
Because again, there's no point. A 5-year plan could be CEO, there's no point saying you could be CEO in 5.
Pete,
Yes.
when I've been in the habit when we've been doing reviews in marketing, in particular in this bit that you're talking about, to suggest that people err on the side of yeses, because you can always assess every opportunity that comes up on its own merit.
Yes.
One of the things, for example, is, are you interested in relocation? And I've been saying to my people, you know what, no one's going to come to you and say, we've got this job for you and it's in Cape Town and you have to leave on Monday, or else we'll think less of you. So you probably want to tick yes so that you get the opportunity to have that conversation. In terms of how, it's then assessed further up the line, I think that's a good approach, because you have to picture in a company of 30,000 employees or whatever we are,
Yeah.
somewhere it comes down to a spreadsheet, yeah?
Absolutely. So you prefer to be
On the green one
open
and
to
the red one.
opportunity and have a chat to someone
Yeah.
rather than lock yourself out of it just by ticking a box. So yeah, good call.
Okay.
So in terms of, I guess a way to do these ratings, we've come up with a bit of a guide around how to rate, I guess. So again, that it's a fair and equitable process across the business. A number of areas, so buying, planning, and ops.
Yeah, except for allocators and BAs. So
have predetermined KPIs, so there are predetermined KPIs, and this is a buying example, for instance. So these four here are the KPIs, and this is what you should expect in terms of getting an exceed rating, a meeting rating, met most, and needs improvement. So it's a bit of a guide in terms of how you can self-assess and also how you can, as a manager, review somebody's performance. Then what we've pulled together for the overall rating is a calculation in terms of how to then wind that up into an overall rating for performance. So what we're saying is exceeding expectations for this example is worth 4 points, meeting 3 points, meeting most 2, and needs improvement 1. And then on the right hand side, it talks about points in terms of the overall rating. It's a pretty clear cut, I guess.
But it also talks to, does it not, that idea that meeting expectations is a good score?
Yes.
And
absolutely.
exceeding expectations is a really outperform.
Yeah.
Because that's, you only lost 1 point on the way to an exceeding expectations overall, yeah.
And in our current business environment, meeting most is a pretty good score too.
Yep.
Sure, yeah.
It's not where we want to be, but
Yep.
let's be honest and realistic. You can use this calculation for anywhere where you've got 4 KPIs. So even if you are, say in HR, if you've got 4 KPIs that are just different to this, but because we don't have standard ones, then you can use those for. There's also a guide on the hub, which is for 5 and 6.
6, yeah. No one should have more than 6 KPIs.
Yeah, no one should have 6 KPIs.
But saying that, it's just a guide. So if you've got somebody that they had one main KPI to deliver and they exceeded that, and then they had 2 smaller ones that maybe weren't, it's up to the GM's discretion to go, you know what, I'm not going to use this guide because these aren't weighted in, to a particular KPI. So this works for the people that we've set it up for the buyers, planners and ops teams, but it might not for marketing, for example, or somewhere else. So it's just a guide.
Yeah, and some areas of business may have less strict targets in terms of their KPIs. So that's all available on the hub. In terms of the performance rating for the behaviours, across the top there, there is a reference document on the hub called the core values enhancing and limiting behaviours. So it's a document that just gives you, I guess, good examples and bad examples of each of the values. So it's a really clear way to sort of go through and, I guess, do a reconciliation around each of those for individuals if you're not sure. But again, we've got a definition here around exceeding, meeting most, and needs improvement. And again, an overall rating scale around the point system to make that a bit easier, I guess. Make sense? Lots of nods? You're all numbers people. Just a few things we kind of warn people about, what we're calling the 7 deadly sins. So one is not having one. As I said, everyone needs feedback as a company. This is our formal process. There's been questions around if someone's only been here for 3 months. They probably don't need one officially. However, it's a good opportunity to sit down and give somebody that feedback anyway from an informal perspective. Being unprepared, again, make sure, particularly as both parties really need to come prepared to have an open, honest conversation about how things are going. Really. Again, as a manager, my biggest tip is make sure you do have those examples to back it up as well. Otherwise, you lose all credibility if you can't. Don't be defensive and close-minded from both people's perspective as well. So, it is supposed to be a coming together, and that's why we've got the 2-step process, the self-assessment and the manager's assessment. So, my advice to people again is if you're surprised about something in there, take it on board, take it away, think about it, maybe come back to the conversation. Unless you're willing to discuss it, work through it more there. But there's no point being defensive and aggressive about feedback. At the end of the day, it's feedback from somebody. That's up to you. So you've got to look at that and self reflect on that to determine that's maybe accurate. Discussing personality instead of behaviours. So it's really key to make sure that you're not personality instead of what their behaviours are. I talked about surprises before. In theory, these discussions are not supposed to be a surprise. You haven't met KPIs. most of you, particularly financial KPIs and other measurable KPIs, can usually know throughout the year how they're tracking. But certainly feedback across the board should be more regular, and therefore it shouldn't be a surprise when we get into these conversations. Inadequate planning of personal workload, time, discussion, location, and overall environment. So in other words, give the employee the respect and make sure you respect the process as well by allocating the time, having a private room, not having your mobile phone on to take calls, all those things to make sure that you respect the process. And failure to complete the process and to have follow-up conversations. So make sure you do go full circle on the process. And if there is one of those things where the person says, I'm not quite sure about that, can I take away and think about it? Make sure you follow up and complete that process. Conversely, the 7 heavenly habits, preparation, gathering your facts, be open to giving and receiving honest feedback. Negotiate on what's important to you, particularly around that development piece. So talk to, and to Simon's point as well, make sure you're open to the ideas around opportunities. But really, this is the record of your performance as an employee, so make sure you do negotiate on anything that you're not sure of. Be clear about what you've been committed to, what you're committing to. Agree on your development opportunities, so make sure there is an agreement there, so that as an employee you can follow up with your manager if they're, and you should also take ownership of your development. And revisit your performance and development goals in your line manager catch-ups as well. So don't just make it that one-off-a-year process. Make sure you go back to the PVP as part of your regular catch-ups as well. From an overall ratings perspective, so the what is your KPIs, the how is your values, and that then determines your overall rating. So it's a two-part process. We don't just reward people that get the results through any means. It's about how you get those results as well. And that's why we have that two-step process. Step 3 I've talked about already. Any questions in terms of that process or how it works? We do it formally in some parts of the business, like bigger areas like operations, for instance. But in smaller areas, generally the general manager will kind of do that piece of operation, and then we do other processes to make sure that it's a fair process, of course. The discussion, so again, just remember it's about performance, results and behaviours. Ask the individual, as I said, it's a good opportunity for them to tell you how they're going, first up. But then also after you've gone through the performance piece, talk about KPIs for next year as well, so for FY18. Quarter 5 is its own separate entity. And then make sure you're talking about development from a 70-20-10 for the next 12 months. And here is the big reveal, 70-20-10. So 70 is about, they say that 70% of your learning should be based around experience, so on-the-job development, job rotations, assignments, cross-functional projects. 20% should come from exposure from others, so mentors, feedback, networking and that sort of thing. And then 10% from formal education, which formal can include things like, it says Blink on here, but that will be our World Manager tools coming for communication as well. Go on some best and less courses too. Stolen with pride, this slide. And then hopefully what we hope to achieve is, sign up at the end. Yeah.
You're smart, okay.
In terms of a timeline, so you should be encouraging the teams to do their self-assessment now. We're running workshops the other week, and this is our last one except for Adelaide. Hi, Adelaide. And then once you've done these self-assessments, you've had calibration with your line manager, or your senior manager, sorry, you can then start rolling out your conversations. The idea is we're hoping to have it all completed by the end of September. There are supporting resources available on the hub. There's a performance and development discussion guide, quite a detailed guide there, and some supporting recommendations and that sort of thing, and all this guys.